Okay, um, I just moved a 45 pound bag of birdseed all across the house, and there was no handle for it. It would knock me out. Uh, okay, when I was younger, even not that many years ago, I just would have picked it up and carried it. But, uh, okay, so today is the 7th of February, 2025. It's 9:47 in the morning, and it's cold outside, 53. I think we had some rain last night, not a tremendous amount. They're predicting in a few days a 3-day run of rain, but they just predicted that for 2 days, and we got a pittance. So maybe we're dealing with wishful thinking. I have no idea what we're dealing with. I really don't. Um, okay, what we're going to cover today is what Trump just said about Israel's going to finish the war and then turn Gaza over to America. We're going to go into what that means. That means when the ceasefire is up around March 1st or 2nd, Israel's going to resume the war. I'll explain all that to you, why it has to be this way. Because he said he's not putting military in, because the UN said if you want to have an evacuation or a deportation or removal of the Gazans, you've got to do it without the military. You just got to do it on their own. They got to want to leave. So Trump's going to use Israel, the puppet of America, to make the Gazans want to leave. And I will go into all that. And then I'm going to show you some interesting things in Zechariah 9. One of the subscribers sent me a video that some rabbi, who I'm quite sure is full-blown S-bot, talked about with Zechariah 9. And there was some points that made sense when I went through it again, particularly about geography. And there might be, and I use the word might in capital letters, there might be a way to get sequencing between Lebanon falling and Gaza falling. I'll show it to you in Zechariah 9 later in the broadcast. We'll go through it and we'll decide how valid it is. He came up with other things, that was sheer nonsense, but it was interesting, and I'll go through it to you because I think you'll find it interesting. There's some few fine points in there that are really worth discussing, okay? Particularly about geography and names of places, okay? Like, I'll just let it out of the bag. Ashkelon, we have a city called Ashkelon on the top of Gaza, but Ashkelon was the name of the land of the Philistines, in other words, Gaza, in the old days, at the north, okay? And it's possibly that they don't have all of Gaza, that Ashkelon might be Gaza, or Israel named the place Ashkelon, or somebody did centuries ago, but Ashkelon is really supposed to be in northern Gaza. So we got to look at that, because there was some prophecies about Ashkelon that didn't make sense to me, but this rabbi kind of explained it, and I verified it, and yeah, Ashkelon was in North Gaza. So because we have a place named Ashkelon, I don't know how valid it is. We have Nazareth or Nazareth in Israel, and they have in Nazareth someplace in America, don't they? Yeah. So, we got to take a look at that, okay? But we got to be very, very careful with these things. Okay. And there's some other things in there that are very interesting. And I'll also explain to you how the rabbi was trying to sell some of the things in there, which was ridiculous. You'll enjoy that. Okay, let me go into the live stream and make sure we got sound and picture, which is important. Which is important. Okay, we got sound and picture. All right, threw some of the jerks out. Please pray that I don't have any trouble with the payment processors anymore. There's some stirring of the pot. I don't know how serious it is, but please pray I don't have any problems with the payment processors anymore. Okay, next. Put my email address up. These people that come in and insult me they're not Satan bots. They're children or immature people that reject old people. Okay? You notice how they insult me for my age all the time? They think that the internet belongs to them and old people should stay off it. Well, I started on the internet in the mid 90s when the websites were black and white. Yeah, they were. I had a Bible website for many years that was teaching things about Israel, Bible prophecy, spiritual warfare, and it was black and white. And other people distributed this, I think, to probably most of the continents. And it went for years. It was good. And it had some modifications I would have made down the road, but it was okay. Spiritual warfare was especially good, I'd say that, you know. But the other stuff didn't have the knowledge I have now, you know. Spiritual warfare stuff was basically the same, because that's really when the Lord was teaching me most of spiritual warfare that I know was back in the 90s. So, but anyway, you know, they hate elders because, you know, I could relate to it because in the 60s we didn't like the guys that fought in World War II because they thought we had an extreme obligation to go to Vietnam. The fact that the Vietnamese people never did anything to America, nor could they, nor did they do terrorism outside of Vietnam, didn't mean anything to them. You know, the government wants us to go kill them, you know. You know what I'm saying? So it's a normal thing, you know, these people have other ideas that we don't share, you know, gender issues, drug issues, computer gaming, you know, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, let me do the praise, Old and New Testament believers we are, so we'll do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, let's get started. So Trump, after the UN, was talking about, hey, you know, you can't use your military. That's some sort of, racial persecution or cleansing, racial cleansing, something like that, right? So then Trump comes out with another announcement. Netanyahu's going to finish the war and then turn Gaza over to America. He didn't say they were going to buy Gaza from Israel. It said turn it over. So he's getting the land of Israel, and Netanyahu is helping him. I already covered that yesterday. But this means that when we come to phase two, see, the Gaza ceasefire started and finished just before Trump took office, and that was no accident by Biden. Okay? So we made an idiot deal with them. Trump had an envoy there, but the envoy didn't have the power in the negotiations. So we wind up giving them 1,900 and over 1,900 terrorists in jail, releasing them for 33 hostages. You know, that's, Biden insulting Israel on his way out of office. Okay, that's all that is. Okay, it's nothing else. And Netanyahu didn't know what to do. He didn't want any trouble. He wanted to wait for Trump to get into office. So Netanyahu, I don't know what Biden was threatening. I have no idea. But, it could have been anything from arming Hamas or I don't know what, So Netanyahu went along with it. We didn't get the hostages back that Trump was pushing for because there's still 59 hostages remaining. And Trump knows that, but he won't talk about that. He's a smart individual. So what's going to happen is in phase two. Now, I'm going to explain this in a way that you're going to 99.9% understand what I'm talking about, probably 100%. In phase two, Hamas wants Israel to completely withdraw all military out of Gaza. After that happens, they have a schedule of returning the hostages. I don't think any of us really know how many are alive. I haven't seen a count of that. I haven't seen much in terms of their names. I don't know what's going on with that. It doesn't sound likely that we have any concrete information about that. So Gaza can turn around and say, well, out of the 59, we have 14. We can give you the rest are coming in body bags. And then Israel would have a terrible time ever moving back into Gaza, because now they would say, well, the first time they attacked you, the second time, there was a ceasefire and you refused to cooperate. All right. So we don't leave Gaza. So if, let's say we do leave Gaza, right? And Trump can't come in with his military to do the deportation out of Gaza. which now they're raising the number, America's raising the number of people affected from 1.7 to 1.8 million up to 2 million. And the 2 million figure, I think, is correct. We believe Hamas is down to about 20,000. Now, they might have 2 or 3 or 4,000 or 5,000 of other radical groups affiliated with them. I don't know. They may not. That might be all they have. They have some. They definitely have AK-47s and guns, and I believe they definitely have RPGs, and they definitely have some shoulder-fired anti-tank missiles, and they might have some more raw explosives for IEDs. Okay, quite sure this they have. I don't have much doubt about that. So, if Israel's not there, how the heck does Trump go in and do the deportation and take Gaza? The only way they could possibly do it is to put about 50 or 75,000 troops in there with tanks and vehicles and helicopters for air support and stuff. There, you can't do it that way. He could definitely continue the war on behalf of Israel, but the idea here would be that he would support Israel with nearly anything they need to bring a swift end to the war. What would that be? Well, he's already given us an additional 4,700 2,000-pound bombs, and Biden gave us 17 or 1,800 of these 2,000-pound bombs before he left, probably for signing the ceasefire. So you're talking about 6,500 roughly 2,000-pound bombs, which can cause amazing destruction in Gaza. Combine that with artillery, mortars, rockets fired from helicopters and jet planes, combined with surface-to-surface missiles and missiles fired from Israel warships off the coast. You have devastating power that's incredible. They have no air defenses and so forth. So what would Israel need to do to finish this off and, so to speak, make the Gazan people leave Gaza? Well, there's already a 90% destruction of the houses and the buildings and the government buildings and the hospitals and the schools and the mosques and the malls and the stores. So what next? Well, the best ways to do it are not hard to figure out, okay? If we're not there with our military and Trump says, I've got some ferry boats here or buses and just get on, bring a backpack or 2 or 3 and get on, and we're going to take you to Egypt, or we're going to take you to Jordan, and we'll put you on a boat and take you to Morocco or wherever. The Hamas won't let them leave. They won't let them leave. They'll shoot them. They're not going to leave. So Hamas, now how do you get Hamas? Well, one way to get them is segregate them from the civil population, from the civilians. Now, these civilians in the thousands came in on October 7th and killed Israelis, raped women, mutilated people, stole stuff, took hostages. The civilians, see, you're not going to, the vast majority of these people are vicious, okay? So, and when I say the vast majority, I mean the vast, 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 vast majority are vicious, okay? They may not like Hamas reigning over them, but they think Hamas is protecting them. Now that Trump wants to evacuate them to some country, you see, Jordan and Egypt are rather firm on saying they're not going to take these people in. Okay? They are, on the one hand, afraid of them. On the other hand, they know that keeping these people in Gaza is essential to keep Gaza constantly attacking Israel and making the life for Israel hard. They want Israel out of there so they could form a caliphate in the whole area. The ones that really want to do this openly is Erdogan and Turkey and Iran. Now, Saudi Arabia is emerging and making me think they would perhaps also like this. But the Shiites, Saudi is Sunni, and the Shiites and the Sunnis get along not at all, so it wouldn't work that well. They're very far from the caliphate. You're not going to see anything anywhere anytime soon, okay? So what Trump is saying is Netanyahu, finish him off. So how do you finish him off quickly and expediently, which Biden wouldn't allow us to do? Cell phone towers kaput, you take them out. Landlines, they don't have. Internet kaput, you don't have that. Now there's no communication out of Gaza unless Hamas has some, satellite phones, which I'm sure they probably have 20 or 30 or something like that. So they could get out of Gaza on that, but the general population's not going to get out of Gaza. Could Israel jam the satellite phones? I don't know. Probably, but I don't know. They might. That would be step one. Next, I told you interruptions in the humanitarian aid. To just reduce the humanitarian aid and not let it come in is going to be blah, 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 the whole UN will go crazy. But if they blame certain days they can't be humanitarian aid, like Gaza starts robbing it, or the Palestinians themselves start robbing it, which also happens, then they go on a heavy blame campaign against Hamas, and they say, we got to suspend humanitarian aid because it's not reaching the people until we could resolve the problem. So they could easily get away with 2 or 3 days of no humanitarian aid, okay? That will make Hamas more desperate to steal the stuff so they don't run dry. So when it resumes, they'll leave holes open, or they could do this, they may not do this, and let Hamas steal more humanitarian aid. And then shut it down for 2 or 3 days, and then take new steps. Okay, this is just one way they could do it. Trump could also just come out and say, if they want to steal the humanitarian aid, we're cutting it off. We're not here to feed and give fuel to Hamas. Okay. Now, they still apparently have some tunnels. I'm guessing. I'm pretty sure they do. So then Israel has to go in and destroy some tunnels. Now, have they kept the hostages in the tunnels? Yes. When this happens, are they going to threaten to kill the hostages on the internet? Yeah, but if they don't have any internet, then they got to use a satellite phone to do it, and that's tricky. The way that works is you got to have a satellite phone, and you got to have a little small computer that hooks up to it as some sort of antenna, I think. A dish or something like that, and it's rather difficult to do. Can it be done? Yeah, it has to be done above ground. It's not something you do in a tunnel. Yeah, they could do that. Okay, they may not have the capability, and we may be able to constantly jam the satellite phones. So don't be so sure they can do it. They don't have Starlink, to the best of my knowledge. I'm 99% they have no Starlink. Egypt's allowed them access to cell phone towers, and that'll stop. There's a number of ways Israel could stop it. One way is to knock the towers down, but Egypt would have a cow over that. They're jamming or overwhelming it with some sort of cyber attack on the towers, or is a way to get it done. Okay? Hack into it. I mean, it'll happen. Or they could keep the people away from the towers by a certain distance, which, I don't know, if you're even a quarter or an eighth of a mile away from the tower, you're probably not going to get a signal, or maybe a mile. I don't know what the distance would be, but, that could happen. So, that's psychologically very valuable, okay? Information's not going to get out. Lots of false information will get out, and they're not going to be happy. And it's possible Israel can cut them off from their leaders that are in Qatar, or now they're in Turkey. It's possible. That makes life tough for Hamas. Now add in the fuel shortages. Well, in addition, we'll put more troops back in Gaza and shoot with them and engage them, and the planes will now drop lots of bombs on them when they pop up, and lots of artillery from the tanks, the mobile artillery. Could even be, towed artillery, missiles, everything. It'll be brutal. The tunnels, there's a number of ways you can get rid of the tunnels. One way is to flood it with seawater, but we have been told that that is not ecologically great, because that salt water will get in the land and seep around and could cause issues. So Trump, wanting to rebuild it, may not want that. But the other way you could do it is blow them up. That works. And it doesn't cause ecological issues. So the tunnels I'm sure we have maps in the tunnels by now. We have decent, or not decent, we have pretty good tunnel detection devices. And the planes will do precision bombing and just blow the tunnels up with 2,000-pound bombs. You drop one, then you drop another, then you drop another, and usually that's all she wrote. By the second or the third one, it's over. They're not that deep. So now they don't have their tunnels. There's not really any houses to live in and work out of. If they start doing that, we'll take the building down. So it's just methodical. And then, what are they going to do? And then the Gazans just need to be aware of how uncomfortable they are, and they already are. Mess with the communications, mess with the food supply, and mess with moving them around from one part of Gaza to another, and they're basically going to give it up. If the diehards want to stay there and sleep in the streets, so far I don't think any tents actually showed up in Gaza. They tried to bring some and they were stolen. They tried to bring 3,000 and some of them were stolen. So they might have had one shot of 3,000 tents, but they're saying there's a shortage in the manufacturing and production of the tents. These tent companies might keep 100 or 200 on hand. They're not going to be able to just say, oh, here's 75,000 tents. Next week we'll give you another 75,000. It's hard. Remember, the Gazan civilians were keeping hostages in their homes as slaves. I'm sure sex slaves. They were doing housekeeping. They were beating them, denying them medical attention, feeding them the crappiest food they had. Those are the civilians. So they're not nice. All right. So then Israel just finishes mopping it up. More bombings. They're isolated. They're not getting any weapons in there. Okay. But what happens when this happens? Well, see, Trump understands it. The Hezbollah is going to rise up again. We just attacked Lebanon last night and hit 2 weapons depots that weren't there before the ceasefire. So the Lebanese army let Hezbollah bring weapons into South Lebanon and set them up. So the ceasefire is February 18th. Trump and Netanyahu are going to say it's extended. The Gaza government may say, I don't know what. I really don't know. The pattern they'll follow is okay, and they'll ignore it, which means Israel's happy with that. They'll continue bombing any kind of strategic weapons storage that Hezbollah has in the south, or any operators in the south with targeted assassinations and so forth. So it's not going to get reestablished. And the war could flare up. There's a new government there. They're announcing the president or the prime minister, whatever they use up there for that person, very shortly, or they did last night or yesterday, I'm not sure. And we're trying to find out what percentage of their Congress or their parliament consists of Hezbollah representatives, and we're not being told anything. And other countries too. So that's a bone of contention that they're going to have to deal with. They're going to have to come up with that. So we don't know to what extent Hezbollah is in the government right now, but they're definitely there. So that war is likely to flare up. Hezbollah may see a scenario where Israel's going to keep bombing and attacking them, with surgical strikes on particular targets during the next ceasefire, which likely could be another 60 days, and whittling them down, and they may say, let's rise up against Israel and start fighting again, which the government of Israel doesn't want because they suffer, but on the other hand, they don't want to send their military to stop it. They're afraid of Hezbollah. Okay. Now we had a crazy incident yesterday. The Lebanese are holding 14 people from Syria that when the HTS people took Syria over, they got scared and ran into Lebanon, and they've been arrested and detained. For what crime, we don't know, other than they were working with Bashar Assad. We assume that. So at the same period of a few hours, Israel was attacking Lebanon, and the new HTS government in Syria was attacking, this is the government of Lebanon, was attacking their army from Syria. Syria and Lebanon have a border. And they were shooting, and I think they were using artillery. Yeah, they were using artillery. So now Syria is fighting with them over what they did. And it's probably more people from Syria, maybe tens of thousands, that would like to come back to Syria, and it could be a reasonable assumption that that border is closed and Lebanon doesn't want to allow that. So now they're turning on Lebanon. Maybe Trump's behind that or something. I don't think so. I think they're doing it on their own. They also came out with an announcement that is going to be very troubling to the Donald and Great Britain and NATO, okay? And they said this: we're open to negotiating with Russia to let them have their Navy base, and I assume the air base, which is very close, in Latakia, Syria, which was Russia's base on the Mediterranean. But it all depends on what Russia wants to do for our people. So that can mean a lot of things. It can mean military equipment, which I don't think is what they're going after right now. They don't want to be detected by the foreign countries as just getting the power and then starting wars. They want to make it look like they're good people and want to help Syria. Right. They did get rid of a cruel, mean, psychotic dictator, Bashar Assad. All right, so Russia needs this base to have a war with NATO. It's important to them, and they don't have it now. And they pulled out, and they took their weapons, their planes, their boats, and They're gone. Do they still have a handful of soldiers or something on the bases to stop the looting of whatever is left? I don't think there's much left to loot. Maybe they have. So I think they're gone. I don't know. They may still have a few soldiers there. So if Putin comes up with food like wheat, money, other things they might need, they may say they can have the base, but once they start negotiating with Russia, which I don't think has happened, America's going to get real upset, and NATO countries real upset. Now, Russia may not trust them because he had an agreement with Bashar Assad, a long lease, I think into 1937 or 38, 2037, 2038, and, or longer, maybe it was 2075. It was a very, very long time in the future. And it could have been like 2075 or something. And they did not honor it, which is, not the sign of peace-loving people taking over. So Russia may not want to belly up to the bar and give them a lot of anything because they're not a stable government. They may be very short-lived, and he can't trust them because they broke the first agreement. They'll break another one. So Russia's not really sure what to do. And with Trump on the warpath, he may not be so happy about having a base in Syria. It's easily taken out by Israel. Just, the warning time that Russia would have for our jets attacking his base would be perhaps seconds. It'd probably be less than a minute, so they would barely have time to run into the shelters. I don't really see this. Plus, we can missile attack them whenever we want. Our Delilah missiles are cruise missiles modified to follow radar beams and blow them up. Now, Russia could make a show of substantial force, like send 12 warships over there, or 14 warships, where a lot of them can launch missiles from submarines and missile cruisers and destroyers and things like that. Russia has no aircraft carriers except some antique that they gotta use a towboat to move around. So Russia may not even want to do this, but it is an interesting situation. So the negotiations have started with them on phase 2, and they're insistent no hostages till you're fully removed, and we don't want you ever coming back. We want a permanent ceasefire. Then they're going to probably want guarantees from Trump not to put troops in there. It's basically going to fail. It's going to go dead as a doornail. And Israel will resume the war. They'll say, fine, we'll just clean you out. And we go back and do it again. But it's going to be probably 5 times more aggressive than what you saw with Biden. It'll be short-lived. I don't think Israel's going to pour gasoline in the tunnels and light it up. They'll do other things, but it's going to be curtains. Okay? Egypt, Turkey, and the other countries are going to sit there and say, what the heck, the place is gone anyway. Now, the Houthis are going to start the fighting again, and probably Hezbollah. The HTS in Syria, I doubt it. Iraq, if they're persuaded by Iran and pushed hard, they will. And Iran may very well do something. What? I have no idea, but they may try to do something. They may not do something about Gaza. They may start attacking other countries in the region, like Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, to hurt the oil and wreck the economies of the West. I don't know. If they did rebuild their radars and they start trying to launch on Israel, the radars will be taken out again, is all that's going to happen. They got a small amount of Su-35 jets from Russia, so what are they going to do? Get refueling tankers, which they don't have, but they could probably get, and fly a mission against Israel when they can't get any protection out of Syrian airspace anymore. And Israel will just take the jets out. We have anti-aircraft missiles. We've got fighter jets that can engage them with stealth. How are they going to fight a stealth jet when their jets aren't stealth? And our jets get them on the radar. They can't get a lock on our jets. We fire missiles at them and it's over. Oh, they may dodge the missiles, so, you know, if they send, let's say they send 6 jets, Israel will probably send 18 planes up in the air, and F-15s, F-16s, F-35s, ground anti-missile defense systems. Navy ships might launch it. It would be a horrific experience for them. How many of them would be successful in attacking Israel? I would say 0. The fight would happen probably over Syria. Unless they tried to come in over Turkey, but I don't think Turkey's going to let anything like that happen. So they could try to fly in over the ocean and come in over the ocean, but we'll pick them up and they'll be taken out. I'd say 100%. Then they got none. And then they're finished. These jets are useful to them if there's a ground invasion, say from the Taliban in Afghanistan or other forces. They could be useful in slowing down an attack. Because the invading navies are not in their homeland, they don't have all the defenses that their homeland has. Okay. So it would be worth something to them. Also, if there's a blow up in the Straits of Hormuz with Navy ships, they could attack Navy ships with these planes. And again, they would probably not prevail, but it would make problems for America or whoever else is doing it. So the war will resume, okay, as it looks now. Trump will use Israel to do it, give Israel equipment, reconnaissance, all kinds of aid. And that's what's going to happen. And Gaza will then, I don't think this evacuation of any substance is ever going to happen. Oh, you might see 50,000 Gazans leave or something like that, or even 100,000, but there's not going to be anything but a little dent. That's it. Israel will wipe them out, and some are going to turn to the Lord and get saved. That's the prophecies, which we'll cover later. Okay? So the world doesn't know what I just explained to you because they don't have the insight. It'll come out today, later today or tomorrow. There's a lot of these people, I think, watch my site, and then I see the videos pop up a day later. You get the news a day before me, and the explanations too, and that could be because they're trying to copycat me and other people. So I don't know for sure, but that's my suspicions. Okay. If any of you guys want prayer requests, just put them up in the chat. My teeth are much better. My wife saw the dentist yesterday. He put 2 fillings in. There's some sort of new filling with fiberglass that bonds to the tooth. I never heard of this before. And she was in pretty bad, discomfort on this off and on. Although it was from the prayers and red light therapy, and she also was using blue light, which kills bacteria and stuff like that. And she was okay, but I think she is probably going to be much better off with these 2 fillings that he put in, which are supposedly really advanced, and she didn't have any pain coming out, and it was a pretty nice dentist. I think it was a man, I'm not sure. So she's okay. Thank you for the prayers. Let me see what this message is. One of nothing. Okay, so there is a tooth she has that the guy said, the dentist said, seems to be stable now, but it might become unstable in the future. So pray that her teeth stay healed. The price was not high at all. It was very reasonable. It was nice. Thank you for that prayer too. Okay, so we're in a cold streak here, and it's uncomfortable, you know. Maybe we should pray for the weather to warm up. That'd be a good idea. All right. Let me get in my notes. Trump administration is suing Chicago because of their sanctuary cities, and they're threatening to jail them also. One of Trump's new appointees is going after the NGOs that have been helping what they call illegals come into America and do paperwork and things like that, supporting them in many ways to get them to come in. And their funding has been cut off, and they're threatening them with jail. Gold has come up to 28.62. Now that changes by the second or the minute, you know. But that's a pretty good hit for gold. And silver's around $32. Now, 28.62 is about $140 away from 3,000. Now, if gold hits 3,000, that breaks a massive resistance point, as they call it. And then it could rise. So if something breaks out, we could see gold do a breakout, and then silver's at 32. So if gold's going to go and break out, and you wind up, seeing gold at 3,800 or something like that, silver could be $75, $100. I mean, people aren't going to be able to afford gold at that level. Many people, and they'll opt for silver, which is it really a better investment than gold? I think they're both good. It's always easier to carry gold than silver. So what's going on with Russia? Listen to me. Using Ukraine, America has severely weakened and disabled Russia. By telling Ukraine they can attack deeper into Russia, which Trump did, it means that Ukraine's going to hit more oil refineries and military bases and installations, okay? It seems highly probable that Trump's going to give Ukraine greater range missiles that probably go out to 300 miles. And Ukraine's going to try to take out another 15 or 20% of Russia's oil refineries and just keep weakening Russia this way. Iran needs to go over Gaza. What does Trump do if he built, if they could reach Israel with missiles, they could reach Gaza. It's not a great distance. They could do it. What does Trump do if he sells these projects to investors and they start putting billions of dollars in there and all of this stuff, right? And then Iran drops, 50 missiles or 30 or 80 or whatever over there and blows up their workmen and their projects and stuff like that. Well, they're going to come back screaming at Trump. They probably aren't going to be too quick to put a lot of money in this situation because of Iran. And now the Houthis are going to break out too, so they can lob occasional drones and missiles into Gaza too. So does that give you the realization that the Houthis and Iran have to be disabled before Trump's Las Vegas project in Gaza takes hold? Because it's basically a Las Vegas he's going after, with the ocean. Las Vegas in the desert. You can go there and sit outside a nice, beautiful swimming pool and order hamburgers and French fries and other stuff, and you could order sodas, juice, alcoholic beverages out of the pool. Of course, an arm and a leg. The prices in Gaza aren't going to be an arm and a leg. The labor is going to be rather cheap, and there's going to be no unions. So they got to go. Yemen's going to rise up with the Houthis when the Gaza war resumes, and Trump is going to get very active in shutting that down because they're not just attacking Israel, they're attacking American warships and shipping and threatening America. And I wouldn't be surprised for Trump to do extensive bombing and destroy the place. I really wouldn't. Who's going to come screaming and yelling at Trump when these people attack shipping internationally? Nobody. What are they going to say? Leave them alone. They're nice people, so they sink our ships. So they take crews and hold them hostage for 6 months. They're nice people. Leave them alone. They can't do that. Imagine gold and silver when Trump does that, or when he hits Iran. So what he's doing with Iran is he's following protocols. Okay, that's all. What do I mean? Well, he's saying to Iran, I'm putting extreme, most harsh sanctions on Iran. He did that already. But Iran just ignores the sanctions and keeps selling the oil, and India and China buy it, and he's curtailing Russia's oil supply with Ukraine. Once he gets up to getting rid of about half of Russia's oil refineries, Russia's very crippled. Russia sees the writing on the wall. Russia launched one of their IRBMs at Ukraine last night, in Orishnikov it's called, and it crashed in Russia. So this is clearly just another indication that Putin has a big mouth and he has nothing much to back it up with. He lost over 1 million soldiers already, many military vehicles. Ukraine's occupying a piece of Russia, and now the Baltic states cut off Russia electricity or something, I think, or fuel for Russian electricity, or was it oil? Well, anyway, the Baltic supply lines for this electricity are tied to Kaliningrad, which is technically a piece of Russia. So by disconnecting from this electrical grid, which is Russian, Kaliningrad's not going to have any electricity because it passes through the Baltic states first. So they cut the pipeline, and Kaliningrad isn't going to have any electricity. Now, they could have candles, flashlights, all of that, but, no electricity, no computers, radar problems, you got it? And Kaliningrad is legally a part of Russia. So there's going to be a belly aching coming out of Putin. People are expecting Putin to stack up military in Belarus even more. But, Putin got a big mouth, but he doesn't deliver. How many red lines did Ukraine and the NATO countries cross with Putin? 25? So Iran's going to break the sanctions, okay? They have to, or they'll starve. And the only way I think Trump's going to stop the sanctions is to put Navy ships by the Straits of Hormuz in the Sea of Oman, which is outside of that, at a safe distance for them from Iran, and any ship that looks like it's carrying any natural gas or oil will be interdicted. If it's sourced from Iran, it'll be turned back, or if they won't turn back, they'll confiscate it, board it, and take it away. Or they may just board the ships and keep them. When the Gaza war starts up again, Iran is going to make threats to America and Europe and everybody else they could think of. And Trump's not going to appreciate that. Trump is smart enough to know you can't let them bark threats and not respond. Because that gets them bolder, and then they start believing their own BS. And when they start believing their own BS, they could start acting in delusion and start thinking everything they say is real. Now, Trump did say he wants money from South Korea and Japan to protect them from China and North Korea, and the figure of $10 billion came up. And Trump is not, I don't know what he's going to do. He's basically saying, I'm going to not spend all this money defending you if you don't want to pay for it. The free handouts are over. Okay? Now, this shows you where Trump is headed. If you can analyze it. What Trump is doing is he's getting rid of Russia, and then what? Well, then he's going to claim Gaza. The Houthis are going to rise up. Iran is very, very, very likely going to rise up, and he's going to get rid of them, fulfilling the prophecy with other countries. Israel, UK, maybe 3 or 4 others, I don't know. But he's going to get rid of them. Okay? And then he's left to deal with China. Now, what about Japan and South Korea? Will they come up with the money? I'm pretty sure they will. They have it. They'll come up with it. He didn't ask anything from Taiwan, though. But he might. So, that's going to happen. But he's leaving China and North Korea for later. He wants to really weakening Russia and getting Russia into a ceasefire deal with Ukraine that is possibly going to look like this. Ukraine withdraws from the Kursk region of Russia. It's a small piece of land they have. Russia stays in the area they're occupying by Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine's not going to be able to join NATO, which will calm Putin down. And that's the end of the fighting, basically. And then Russia got to go back and rebuild. They got to rebuild their military. Their soldiers need to be drafted, trained. They need to take care of replacing all the military equipment they lost, the missiles, the bombs. They lost helicopters, tanks, mobile artillery, jeeps, trucks, everything. They got to rebuild that. It takes a few years. And they got to rebuild the oil refineries and stuff like that. And that gives Trump a lot of time to move. If Iran and Russia are completely busted up, there's not much risk anymore for BRICS doing much to America, to the dollar. Because a lot of these people want to come in and buy the oil, and Iran and Russia want to sell the oil without the sanctions. So if Russia loses, more and more of their oil, they're going to get the writing on the wall and stop, want out, because that's their economy. Have you bought a Russian car? How about a Russian refrigerator? Or a Russian wristwatch, or a Russian motorcycle, or a Russian aircraft, or a refrigerator, or a television, or a computer? No, they're living on oil. It's very wrong for the Bible and for Israel what Netanyahu wants to do. But what I don't understand is there's a loophole in this. There's not a good flow-through connection. How can Netanyahu, in the eyes of the world, in the UN, turn Gaza over to Trump? That would mean Israel claimed Gaza. They reclaimed it because we gave it to them, I think around 2008. So we reclaim it and then give it to Trump. That's giving the land away that Israel gave us. It's saying, I fear man more than God, or I seek man more than I seek God. And that's what Netanyahu's message is, to me anyway. Will Trump prevail in terms of being able to move these people from Gaza. I don't know. I think he might get a small amount out, you know. I don't know exactly where he's going to get this small amount from. It's not that easy. And, you know, Israel's not going to be giving any more terrorist prisoners back to Hamas. And we're going to want those hostages back. Trump is going to play the hostage card very carefully here. He's going to say it's an international war crime. They did horrible things to these hostages. They want us to release murdering terrorists from the jails. All the stuff that Biden wanted us to do, he's going to bellyache against. And the world's going to hear him. We'll probably start getting testimonies from the hostages, or Trump will have them, as to what happened to them in captivity and how they want to continue it, and what a sick bunch of people they are. And, you know, all of this is going to be true. You have a resort location on the beautiful Mediterranean Sea with a 25-mile long beach and very nice weather. It's going to be trillions of dollars coming in. But it'll never happen. That's what Trump doesn't believe in, Bible prophecy. Okay? And then it's a great idea to put a Navy base and an air base there to protect the Mediterranean, and Trump knows that. And Trump will let his allies use it, you know. Now, Germany rejected Trump's idea of 5% of the budget going to NATO. They're at 2% now. Germany rejected it, but Trump didn't finish negotiating with them yet either. They got a real problem if Trump pulls out of NATO. Can Trump survive without NATO? Yes. Does he want to? No, but he wants to run NATO. He doesn't want to be the free, you know, he doesn't want all these countries freeloading off America. So he's stirring up the allies of America against him, believe me. The destruction of the daughter of Babylon is coming. It's coming. You know, every day Trump does so much stuff, it's hard to keep up with. He fires it out like a machine gun. And when people get news of what he did and they start digesting it and imagining what could happen, a day later, something else happens. And you can't even stay caught up. A federal judge said Trump's buyout for the federal employees is illegal and he froze it. 80,000 federal workers have taken Trump up on his offer of giving them 8 months of pay and 8 months of medical benefits if they leave on their own. He's at war with the Federal Reserve. He's at war with the IRS. The FBI agents are suing him. You know, it's just you know, you can't, he's throwing so much at everybody every day. You can't keep up with it. You can't, unless you're an organization If you've got, 8 people working for you, collecting all this news, analyzing it, and giving you reports, you probably could stay okay up to date. But, we haven't seen the retaliation against Trump's practices that so many people are resentful of. Okay, so you certainly can ask me questions or put in prayer requests, but now we're going to go to Zechariah chapter 9. And I'm going to go through this with you again, and you'll see some things I don't think we talked about before. And I'll start telling you what the rabbis are talking about, yelling about this in the errors. Okay. Zechariah 9:1. The burden of the word of Jehovah in the land of Hadrach and Damascus. Now we know Damascus is Syria. Shall be the rest thereof. Well, the rest is the sitting down, the peacefulness. It's like it's going to be peaceful. Now, Hadrach is either in Syria or Lebanon, depending on the new geography. Well, what it's kind of is a Syrian false god. And it also had a land. So when you say the land of Hadrach, it's a Syrian god. So you were really saying Syria. And Damascus, which is the capital of Syria, shall be the rest thereof. Now, that's a real unusual term. It could mean I don't know, it has sit, the peace, finished, they're at rest. When the eyes of man, thereof, when the eyes of man, as of all the tribes of Israel, shall be toward the Lord. Well, that means when the day of redemption comes, the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man, this rest is going to happen. So it's close, but not today. Then it says, and Hamat, now we got to check all these old cities. It's not hers, Hamat. This is also in Syria, Upper Syria. And Hamat also shall border thereby. Tyrus and Zidon, I believe, is Lebanon, though it be very wise. Tyrus did build herself a stronghold, and heaped up silver and dust, and heaped up silver as the dust, and fine gold as the mire of the streets. Now, this doesn't sound like Lebanon today, does it? They've got a horrible currency. People are poor. They've exhausted their savings. They were hawking their jewelry. So it doesn't seem to be a good fit for this today. But maybe. Let's keep reading. And Tyrus did build herself a stronghold. Well, Hamas had a lot of stuff up there. Weapons and stuff. And heaped up silver as the dust, and fine gold as the mire of the streets. Well, they found a lot of gold. Oh, yeah. Nasrallah had a fortress full of gold. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Yeah, we got a fit. Yeah. Huge amount of gold. Okay. We're getting a fit. Stronghold could be the tunnels and things like that they have, the underground place that Nasrallah got killed in. Behold, Jehovah will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she shall be devoured with fire. So Lebanon is going. Lebanon, open up your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. Consistent with this, the fire for this day. We got a good hit here. Ashkelon shall see it and fear. Ashkelon shall see it, comma. And then it says, and, no, the and word's not there. And then it says, fear Gaza also. So the Ashkelon in Israel doesn't make any sense. It must be North Gaza because they had a piece of it there called Ashkelon that wasn't called, Gaza. It was all part of their Palestine. So I think we're talking about North Gaza today. And be very sorrowful. And Ekron, let's check Ekron. It's 61. Ekron is a word that means emigration. It was a Palestine city, and let's assume it's in the Gaza Strip, but I could, let me look this up so we can get a better handle, okay? So you put into Google, where is Ekron today? Ekron was one of the 5 cities of the Palestinians, the Philistines, really, it should be. I'm not sure they're all that clear where Ekron is. They have Ekron located east of the Gaza Strip a few miles. It could be Sderot, where it was heavily damaged by the attacks from Gaza. I'm guessing on that one. Behold, the Lord will cast her out. Speaking of the Gaza, the Philistines, cast her out. Well, that could be an evacuation. And he will smite her power. Oh no, this is on, wait a minute, we're on Lebanon here. No, sorry, it's Lebanon, cast her out. Sorry. Lebanon doesn't have a lot of power in the sea that I know of. And Ekron for her expectation shall be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. Well, see, we have an Ashkelon in Israel, but again, it could be the Gaza part. Now it says the king shall perish from Gaza. Who was the king that was in Gaza? Sinwar. Did we kill him? We did. Could that be the king perishing from Gaza? Looks good to me. And then it says, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. Now, the word for bastard in Hebrew is a mamzer. And that is generally meant to mean a child born of a mother and there's no father wed to the mother. It's an unholy union. So, can we say Trump's going to dwell in Gaza? No, he's staying in Washington, D.C. That's absurd. Some of the rabbis stretch this to, a non-Jew marrying a Jew, and, we could say Sisi's half Jewish, so the marriage between Sisi's mother and father were incorrect because one of them was Jewish and married a non-Jew. So that would make him a mamza. So does that mean that Sisi's going to rule Gaza? Could it happen? It's pretty far remote from what we see today, but he would be a mamza. Do I know any other mamzas? No. They call Yeshua a mamza because there was no earthly father involved, married to the mother Miriam. The rabbis are saying that the bastard means the Americans are going to dwell in Ashdod. Nah, the Americans are the goyim. They don't apply they could apply the term to it. I don't think that's a good interpretation whatsoever. And I will cut off the pride of the Philistines, and I will take away his blood out of his mouth, and his abominations from between his teeth. But he that remaineth, even he shall be for our God. So some of them are going to remain there, and as I've told you for a long time, they convert. So they're not all going to be leaving. So it says, he that remaineth, that could also mean he that surviveth, or we could also say he that's not shipped out. But let's see. Shall be for our Elohim, and he shall be as a governor in Judah, and Ekron as a Jebusite. Okay, on this stuff I think it remains to be seen. We're getting an idea here. And I will encamp around about my house. Well, this is huge, because that's the house is the next temple. So this again is telling us the temple is in these days, so we're very close, or maybe even right in the middle of it. And I will encamp about my house. That's the glory of God of Israel, is the one that's doing it, I believe. Because of the army, because of him that passeth by, and because of him that returneth, and no oppressor shall pass through them any more. For now have I seen with my eyes. So, the seven spirits, the eyes of the Lord. Okay, now I'm in Zechariah 9:9. Now the rabbis completely screwed this up, I think. But here we go. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh. Now we got to break the words down here to make sure we get all this right. Okay? The word for king is melech, correct word. Daughter, bat, yes. Jerusalem, behold, thy king cometh, bow to come. Yep. Unto thee. No, it's he, or himself, it would mean. He, and then it says the word just. It's righteous, really. And having salvation, that's Yasha, I believe, or, yeah, it might say Yeshua, but it's, I think Yasha, it could be the other, but it means salvation. Having salvation, that's definitely Yeshua. Lowly, poor, riding upon an ass. Well, that happened when he came the first time, isn't it? He rode on an ass. And then it says, and upon a colt, the foal of an ass. Well, I guess it's probably the same event. That happened in the New Testament. So the rabbi's saying that's how the Messiah is going to come. Nonsense. The Messiah is going to come. You know, we know when he's appearing, and then when he comes in Revelation 19, it's anything but this. So it's just nonsense to try to deceive the people, because it happened already around 2,000 years ago. So I don't see why that would happen again. I don't find any biblical references to that happening again, so I wouldn't pay attention to that. It's just basically, as I see it, telling the people who the Messiah is without spelling it out. Okay? So you probably need to know the Holy Spirit to really understand it. And I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, that's the 10 tribes, and the horse, okay, that word should be sus, yeah. And the sus from Jerusalem. Now, sus could mean a swallow or a horse, so he might be mentioning that in the way of aircraft or drones from Jerusalem. And the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace. Well, cut off, and then they say, and he shall speak. 4 words for one Hebrew word. And that word is debar, debir. And that means speak. Okay? Like you would say, you know, parlez-vous français in French. Do you speak French? But in this case, it would be parlez. Vous means you in French. So parler means speak. P-A-R-L-E-Z. So you would be saying parlez français, which is French. So it doesn't say he shall speak peace. It says speak peace unto the heathen. It doesn't say unto, it says goyim, heathen. So what it's saying is speak, peace is shalom. So it's saying speak peace, heathen. Okay? Then they say, and his dominion. So what this is saying is Moshe, So then it's saying, empire shall be from sea even to sea. So they're talking Mediterranean to Persian Gulf, or probably something like that. A sea is not a river. It's saying from Yam. Yam is really means a sea. The Dead Sea could be a sea. It is a sea, but it's not a river. And from the river, see, now we see the word for river, which is Nahar, and that's a stream or a river. And from the river, even ends of the earth. So it says at the beginning of verse 10, it says, and I will cut off. That's 5 words. You see, this is how they mess with you. And it's karat, in Hebrew, 1 word. And it means basically, yeah, I'll get it for you, but it's cut. You could say cut off maybe and push it, but, and I will cut off. Well, that, you see, they're almost doing a living Bible, like an interpretive Bible, and adding words. They're not almost doing it, they are doing it. All these English translations, all of them. So it's saying, cut off the chariot, and they're saying, oh, that's Jehovah talking, so we'll say, I will cut off. Well, it is Jehovah talking, but now you're not reading the Bible, you're reading their interpretive add-ons of the word, and when they want to twist it, they do. Believe me, they do. Even the King James. As for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant, I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit wherein is no water. Now the rabbis are saying that's the release of the hostages. Now that is pure, unadulterated malarkey. When Yeshua died, he went down in the earth and preached to them. He wasn't preaching to the ones that were convicted for, he was preaching to the Israelites that got killed because of their lawlessness, okay? And they were prisoners of hope because he was telling them, Ezekiel 37, the dry bones, when he appears in the clouds, they're coming up out of the graves and coming to Israel, but they're not spiritual beings. They're going to come, it says they have flesh and cartilage and skin, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. You got to get transformed to a spiritual being. But since they died once, can they die again? Good question. I don't think so. What about the people that Yeshua raised from the dead? They died, and then they came to life. Elijah did it once. What does that mean for them? Could they die again? I'm thinking no. It's selected unto man to die only once. So how could I explain that? I don't know. Pray about that. I don't know about this. When Yeshua, rose and they came up out of the graves and showed themselves in Jerusalem, they were dead. Probably some for a very long time, many, many, many years, and they came up out of the grave. So could they die again? No. Where are they? Good question, huh? Where do animals go when they die? I don't know. Do you? You have a scripture? I don't know. So cutting off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Israel and the battle bow. This is, they beat their weapon, their swords into plowshares, and their pruning hooks. And their spears into pruning hooks. The whole world does that. That's why when you read in Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38:39, they beat their plowshares back into swords, and they beat their pruning hooks back into spears. So this happens when, sometime after Yeshua appears in the cloud and we have everlasting life. All the true believers will have everlasting life along with Israel. He puts our heart, the law in our heart, in our inner parts, and they shall not say, know the Lord, for they shall all know them, from the least to the greatest. This stuff. Then we will be preaching peace to the world. The blood of the covenant there's two ways you could look at this. Really, the best way to look at it is the male circumcision draws blood, obviously. And that's the covenant. That's what I think it is. Not the prisoners out of the pit where there is no water. That's when the beggar sitting outside the rich man's gate died. He ate the crumbs from the rich man's table. They both died. The rich man sees him across a big chasm in Abraham's bosom, which is quite a great paradise. And he's on the other side, and he says, Father Abraham, can you send whatever the beggar's name was, it keeps escaping me, over to me and have him put his finger in a drop of water and put it on my tongue because of the heat here. There's no water. That's the pit. It's down. Not in some apartment in Gaza. So this is nonsense they're teaching. Okay. Verse 12. Now I don't know if they all teach this, but turn you to the stronghold, you prisoners of hope. The stronghold's Israel, redeemed Israel, and the prisoners of hope. Well, when Yeshua went down there about 2,000 years ago, he told them what was going to happen. That's the hope they have. They're being punished, but it's going to be over after the 2,000 years, and they're going to have another chance. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. Well, after redemption, we get a double portion of reward because we had a double portion of punishment. So the timing is rather precise here. So that one is an easy one, unless you have no faith or you don't want to believe your Bible. You want to believe some guy with a big building and a denomination, not your Bible. Then it goes on and says, when I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim. So that's the two tribes, Judah and Levi, are the bow, and Ephraim, the 10 tribes. So this is saying we will go to war again, and we will in our everlasting life form, which can be pretty bad for everybody else to come against us. And raised up thy son, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, which generally means the heathen nations. Yavon, which is Greece, really, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. That's us, not Greece. It's Zion, or the sons of Zion. So just to check the word for Greece with Strong's, I'm pretty sure it's correct. The race of them is the Ionians, which is Greece. I'm pretty sure it's Greece. Okay. And, we get that to the Jew first, then the Greek. When you say Greek, you say Greece. It's the same thing. It's a word for heathens, but the word for goyim can be applied to the 10 lost tribes who left God, got divorced, and also can be applied to the so-called Greeks. So it clarifies here that you don't assume it's the 10 tribes of Israel. Got it? And Jehovah shall be seen over them. and his arrow shall go forth as the lightning, and Adonai Jehovah shall blow the trumpet and shall go with whirlwinds of the south. Okay. It doesn't say Lord, it says Jehovah shall be seen over them. Yeshua says he's going to appear on the right hand of power in the clouds. The power is his Father. Psalm 110:1. The Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right side until I make your enemies your footstool. The enemies are not made the footstool until he returns, just before he returns, basically, I guess you could say. And then the other scripture is, whom the heavens must receive till the restitution of all things. Well, restitution of all things would mean to me there are no more active enemies, okay? That's the things aren't restored till then. And Elijah is the one that's going to do that. Yeah, Elijah shall restore all things. Okay. And his arrow. Well, let's check that word. Chetz. Chetzai. All right. It can mean a piercer, an arrow. Now, a piercer, a bullet is a piercer too, like an arrow, no? Consider that when you're trying to interpret some prophecies for today. By implication, a wound, figuratively of God, a thunderbolt. A thunderbolt. Is a thunderbolt lightning? Well, pretty much related, wouldn't you think? Let's keep reading. And his arrow shall go forth, his piercer, or his thunderbolt, shall go forth as the lightning. Son of man shall appear in the sky like lightning from the east to the west. The two of them are seated together. So you got it? This is the event they're talking about, the appearing of the Son and the Son of Man, with Jehovah sitting at the right, he's sitting at the right hand of Jehovah. You got this? It's foreign to the church, but you guys should get it. Shall go forth as the lightning, and Adonai Jehovah shall blow the trumpet. So who blows the trumpet? The rabbi, the pastor, Trump, Putin? No, Jehovah blows the trumpet. Okay? And the trumpet word, of course, is a shofar, which is a ram's horn. So we always get that wrong. All right. Shall blow the trumpet and shall go with whirlwinds of the south. The word for the south is Taman, which is Yemen, which is Edom. Now let's break the words down and see what it really says. They have three words, and shall go. For one word in Hebrew, Strong's number 1980, halach. And let's see how Strong's puts this into English. It can mean to walk, behave, come. Come sounds good. So we could say, and shall come with whirlwinds of the south. So we got, let's say the word come or go, and then it says with whirlwinds. Let's interpret this. Sa'ar or suar, tempest, whirlwind, storms, hurricane, storm, tempest, whirlwind. That's really about it. And then they say of the south. Well, it doesn't say of the south. It says Taman, south. So let's put it together like the Hebrew says. Go or come, whirlwinds south. So it looks like he's on his way to the south, and that could be Edom, Yemen. So maybe he wrecks the place. I don't think so. I don't know, but the south could mean maybe south of Israel. I'm not sure on this one. I don't have anything 100% on this passage with the south and the whirlwinds. I'm not sure. Jehovah of hosts shall defend them, that's Israel, and shall devour, burn up, and subdue with sling stones, and they shall devour. Let's check that. Akal, burn up, feed, devour. So it's saying defend. Them's not in the text. And the word them and they shall is not in the text. It's in the Hebrew. It just says devour or burn up. And then it says kabosh, subdue. You know, we hear people say, I'll put the kibosh on that, you know. Okay, that's a Hebrew word. It's subdue with sling stones. Well, we'll fight with sling stones, basically. The house of David shall be like Elohim, which is the angel of the Lord. I don't remember the exact words of Zechariah, but it's the angel of the Lord, which is Michael, and he killed 140,000 in one day, and that's what the house of David will be like, with sling stones, and they shall drink and make a noise. Okay, the words for and they shall drink, 4 words for one in Hebrew. Shitka, shitka, shtaka. Basically drink. See if there's other meanings. It could mean a banquet also. You drink at a banquet. It could also be a banquet. Drink, and then it says, and make a noise. Okay, 4 words for one again. Hama. So I don't know who he's talking about here now. Let's see. Jehovah of hosts shall defend them. Then it says, and they shall devour. Then it's so it's saying burn up and subdue with sling stone. And then it says they shall drink and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls. That's the corners of the altar. I guess he's talking of Israel. That's my take. It's very hard. It's so hard to get it into English sometimes. It looks that way, though. And Jehovah Elohim shall save them in that day, Zechariah 12. Salvation them is what it's saying. In that day, Zechariah 12. Verse 10 specifically. As the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of a crown, lifted up as an ensign, a sign upon his land. Arise, shine, your light has come, will be shining like Moses did. They had to put a veil on it, but the veil comes off. Now we'll be shining again. For how great is his goodness, and how great is his beauty. Yeah, his beauty is You can't imagine how much beauty he has. I don't know the right words, but super beauty. Corn, let's check this, because this is an odd one. It could be wheat or corn. Cereal grain. Shall make the young men, let's check this. I think it just means youth. It more would mean young man, I guess. Yeah, I guess they got that. Cheerful, let's check that out. No. I'm not getting where they got this from. It can mean fruitful or flourish. They say cheerful. It's not very far off. And new wine. Tarosh. It could be wine or fresh wine, so they got that pretty okay. The maids. Petula. The virgins, yeah, they got it. So, I hope you enjoyed that. And it could mean Lebanon gets it before Gaza. It could be. Because they act fearful when they know what happened to Lebanon and stuff. So it could be that Lebanon's going to fall before Gaza. Is that hard to understand? No, the ceasefire is being broken every day by everybody. And this week ceasefire expires February 18th, which is 11 days away. So what's so hard to understand? You know, it could blow up before then too. You know, blow up, you know, would mean that, you know, Lebanon starts attacking us, which I think is ultimately going to happen, and we're going to attack them. We might just attack them because the Lebanese army is not removing them from the south, and they're letting them bring in weapons and letting them come to the south. So we're just going to say, we had enough, we're shoving them back. And that need not last till the 18th, because they'll just say, yeah, you're doing it. We're not honoring the ceasefire. You're not. You're not doing your job. Why should we? More attacks. Boom, boom, boom. See, Netanyahu will work that out with Trump, but that would be likely a plan of Trump and Netanyahu, because it catches Hezbollah by surprise. And the element of surprise can be valuable in fighting wars. Let me check the live stream. Yesterday I did Jeremiah 49, and you might enjoy that, which shows you a lot of this type of thing. Okay. Let me check something here with the live stream. Jehovah Fos shall. I just wanted to make sure it was running. Okay. So I think we're maybe on pretty solid ground with the Lebanon getting it first. Could be. You know, it's looking that way. All right. I hope you enjoyed this and got something out of it. rabbis aren't going to preach the dry bones, and they're not going to preach Yeshua's the Messiah and a million other things. Forget it. Okay, that might change, but not now. I'm not planning on it changing. It could. I don't know. So please keep prayers up that I don't have any trouble with my payment processors, and pray for me and my wife Rivka for peace, safety, protection, joy, healing, and our finances, and pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray I get better videos. I do better videos. Pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. And it's hard, putting all the pieces of prophecy together, believe me. And we don't get all the details. Like, we know Damascus would be a runa seat, but exactly when and who's going to do it. Daughter of Babylon's going to go, but exactly who and when and how, we don't get it. We get glimpses and looks at it, and we get it from different prophets, and then we put it together and the picture gets better. But we're really looking at most of this in black and white, not color. And basically that's what I got for today. And I do update on Telegram several times a day. And you really got to use the Telegram and the YouTube together if you want to know everything that I have found. Again, I'm heavy in the Middle East news. I'm not that heavy in Ukraine-Russia war. And the same for what's going on in Asia. I find things and I mention them, but I'm really about America, Europe to a decent extent, but not super detailed. So it's really Israel, but now America heavily too. Okay, very heavily on America. I'm all over America. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua.